Gamers! We're gonna make this one kinda quick cause I really like this game and it's got less than 500 reviews on Steam. I have both of the other OlliOlli games clocked in at about an hour apiece, and while I've always loved the looks and vibes of these games, for some reason I could not get into them. But that was definitely not the case with World, with me putting almost 32 hours into it and loving almost every second. So let's talk about why. I think this can be a pretty intimidating game to watch when you're not used to how it plays, so I feel it's worth talking about the controls in the beginning of this video. I remember looking up some of the later levels in OlliOlli 2 before I really got used to it and thinking there was no way I could do what I was seeing on my screen, and it was a little discouraging, but I don't want any of the background footage to do that for anyone else. For starters, if you're playing on a computer, use a controller. I can't even imagine trying to play this on a keyboard, and the game literally tells you it's meant to be played on controller. You push to gain speed with the X or A button and mostly do tricks by rotating and holding the thumbsticks. Simple tricks like an ollie can be done just by pushing the thumbstick in a direction, but more complicated tricks which are worth more points require circular motions. You'll learn how to do manuals, grabs, and tweaks later on in the game to really boost your scores, but by that point you should be comfortable enough with the basics for them to not be overwhelming. I also want to point out that they've done a great job of making World more accessible than 1 or 2 without really lowering the skill ceiling. The big thing that I immediately noticed is that you don't have to time your landings anymore. In the first 2, you'd have to press the push button right when you land in order to maintain your momentum. Failing to do so would absolutely kill your speed, which can mean a dead run if you're in a bad spot. The timing on it was also pretty strict, which I'm sure put off a lot of people that wanted a more casual experience. In World, they've completely taken away the need to time your regular landings, but the mechanic still exists when you manual to keep a combo going. The timing on it is a lot more lenient now, and perfect landings just increase your score instead of messing with your momentum. All 3 have similar controls, and you have access to all of your tricks from the start here. You don't have to grind levels to earn skate dollars and buy new tricks for higher scores or anything like that. If you've got the patience to look through the Trictionary, you can do everything literally the minute your trucks hit the first level. But you are given tutorials as you progress, so you for sure have all the necessary tools when an upcoming level requires it. And that brings us to what really stuck with me after completing the game and what the bulk of this video is going to be about. OlliOlli World has some of the most insane 2D level design I've ever seen. You'll select levels from a Super Mario style overworld map, and there are 5 zones or differently themed areas in the base game. They start out pretty linear, but towards the end of the game, some of these levels are fucking massive. I'm talking 3 or 4 branching paths throughout the level that can sometimes lead to you ending it in completely different areas. There were a couple levels I can remember where taking a regular path to the finish line actually wouldn't give you enough turf to meet the score requirements. This led to replaying in search of hidden alternate routes or secret paths. It's kinda hard to wrap my head around what all goes into making a game with interconnected levels like this, but I really want to tip my hat to the people that made them. Each level has 3 specific challenges and score checks, as well as an extra one for beating the level without any checkpoints. The challenges range from beat the level in 1 combo to only do a certain amount of grinds to avoiding certain obstacles. They're technically optional for the most part, but I think you're actively hurting yourself by not doing the missions. They add so much replay value and a level of mastery to the game, and some of the levels are even locked behind completing enough of them. For the really hardcore gamers, you get a new tough challenge for every level after beating the game. I did all the challenges in the base game, but didn't even attempt to complete the new set. At this point, I felt like I'd already gotten my full enjoyment out of the game, and the new challenges probably would have just pissed me off. I usually found myself falling into the rhythm of coasting through the first run through of a level just to get a lay of the land, scouting for checkpoints, side objectives, where the tough jumps are, stuff like that. Then I would complete the challenges, and after that I was usually comfortable enough with a level to go for the score checks. 9 times out of 10 I'd get the no checkpoints objective naturally while going for the other ones, but if not, it would be the last thing I did, so I wouldn't have to worry about maintaining a combo or going through tough alternate routes. The checkpoint system they've added in this game is really great for practicing a level. They're placed pretty generously, and there's almost always one right before a hard section. So if there's a jump that you just can't quite land, you can pretty reliably load a checkpoint to practice and get comfortable enough for an actual run through of the level. And I've gotta say, it feels really good to full combo levels here, especially when you finally get one that's been giving you a lot of trouble. It honestly gave me the same feelings as beating some of the hard Dark Souls bosses. But there were moments where I felt like that SpongeBob broken fingers meme on some of the longer levels. The difficulty curve here is a little weird. For the most part, I wouldn't really say this game is hard, but there's a level towards the end of the game that took me 3 days to 100%. What makes this level so hard is how fucking long it is.
That's what she said.
I mean, look at my final score here compared to the last level of the game. Up until this point, I hadn't had any real problems with the game, so the seemingly huge spike in difficulty was a little frustrating. Most of what ended my runs on this level were mistimed jumps, and speed and momentum often played a bigger role than I expected in the back half of this game. While this was the only level that gave me that kind of trouble, there were definitely a few others where I had to practice jumps on. It really feels like you have to input your ollie damn near frame perfect while maintaining the correct speed in order to make some of these jumps. I'm gonna very briefly talk about the music because 1, it's great, you're listening to it right now, and I'll leave a link to the soundtrack in the description if you're interested. And 2, I think they've done a really clever thing with it. You would probably expect this game to have an angsty punk rock soundtrack or something along those lines, and while it would have been fitting, I think I'd have enjoyed this game less without the lo-fi chill hop synthwave music that they've opted for. It's a nice contrast to how chaotic the game can get and does a nice job of keeping you calm while you bail out over and over trying to perfect a level. I mean, can you imagine the Kyle moments if stuff like this happened while this was playing?
I wanna kill my mom! I wanna kill my dad! I wanna kill my grandma!
The last thing we're going to talk about is, of course, my favorite segment, customization. I wasn't really a fan of the new art style when they announced this, but it grew on me over time. I'm a huge fan of pixel graphics, and 2 in particular looked really good, but I think the new change in art direction allows for more creativity on both the player and developer end. You create your own character this time and can personalize everything from your clothing and tattoos all the way down to the color of your trucks and animations you start and end runs with. But you have to complete the challenges that we talked about earlier in order to unlock cosmetics. And you know what? I really like this. It brings a level of prestige to the cosmetics and also gives you more incentive to do the bonus objectives. And even though this is a single player game, there's still a bit of a social aspect to show off your character. The game shows you other people's characters during the loading screens, which I absolutely love, and you can see your entire lobby during daily runs. There's also a leaderboard for every level and a replay system, so your best run is always readily available to the masses. I always felt like the old games needed some form of customization, even something as small as palette swaps for the main guy, but no customization is available, and I feel like that's a big reason why they didn't grab me like World did. If I'm gonna spend hours perfecting these levels, I don't want to do it looking at some generic cookie cutter skater. I really enjoyed my time with OlliOlli World, and if you like skateboarding or platformers or really anything you've seen in this video, I'm sure you will too. Seriously, less than 500 reviews feels absolutely criminal for how good this game is. There's already 1 expansion out, and the second is due November 2nd. I'll probably make my way back to this once all of the DLC is out, but I'm fully satisfied with what I've already played for right now. If you've made it this far, I'm gonna assume that you liked the video, so do me a favor and leave a like for me. If you really like the video, you can subscribe so you know whenever I upload. I'm sure that by the time you guys see this, I'm gonna be deep into Gotham Knights, and then we've got Modern Warfare 2, and then we've got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so we're gonna be busy for the next couple months. But let me know what upcoming games you guys are excited for. Thanks for sticking around until the end, and I'll see you in the next one.